Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're on iRacing today with a race in the Ferrari Fixed Series at Spa. This was last week's race, so 8 laps I think this worked out at. It was an enjoyable combination, obviously in the Ferrari 488 GT3 race car. Everyone's in the same car, so everyone's equal. This is a default setup series, there is no setup advantage. Everyone using the same setup. The only changes that can be made in this series is with the brake bias. We decided to just keep it completely fixed. We didn't change anything. We didn't do too much practice for this race. We just jumped on and went for the race. I think we did we did do an attempt at this race earlier in the week, so this was our second attempt at the race. Managed to do an okay qualifying again. I think we pretty much matched the time we did in our first race and started from P6. So one thing I do love about iRacing obviously is the manual rolling starts. Obviously we normally do GT Sport content, but we're going to start adding at least one video and one stream on another game. Majority of the time it's going to be iRacing, but I want to start adding variety to the channel, so we're going to be trying to do that as much as possible as we're about to start this manual rolling start. And this is why I love it. It's so much more, it's just more enjoyable to have the control over the start, and you can get jumps on cars as we have a little look going down straight, and you can see one car actually squeezes another car onto the barrier. And look at the chaos in the background behind us there on the replay camera. Absolute chaos at the start. Cars flying everywhere. A real disaster for a lot of cars at the start. But that actually put us up. I think we actually gained a position out of that due to the car that was in front of us squeezing onto the wall. So we're now into P5 and looking quite good in this race. You can see trying to keep it smooth through a rouge and Radion there, and nearly actually losing control of the car. You can see we actually went a little bit too far over on the top of the hill and then nearly ran wide and picked spot. I think we actually might have picked up the times one at that point. As you can see, the leaders battling for the lead in this race. We're just trying to hold station at this point and trying to control, just try and keep the car safe, to be honest, because I know I haven't got the speed on iRacing at the moment. We're way off what we used to be. Obviously I haven't really, we did start it again a little bit ago and then we stopped playing it again, but I really want to try and bring iRacing content to the channel every single week because I do love playing this game. Obviously we haven't got the actual gameplay footage. I think I can start recording the actual live gameplay as well as doing it on the stream through using the NVIDIA. I don't know how it will affect the streaming, but I'm going to give it a go next time so that we can record some good races, and if there is a race that we can have the actual, all the footage with the deltas and everything, and make it a little bit easier. As you can see, the car in front ran a little bit wide there and he bounced up on the curb and nearly lost control. Big moment for the car in front there, but he luckily gets away with that and we stay hot on the tail of that Ferrari in front of us. And we've got another, obviously, Ferrari right behind us there, pushing very hard and keeping us on pretty much on a reasonable pace in this race. There was no chance of letting off. You can see in the top right hand corner in the TV replay camera, it's very close all the way through the field. At this point, I was really happy. We're maintaining good pace. Very short races. This is obviously the fixed series, like I said. It's only 8 laps. It's pretty much about 15 to 18 minute race, well 15 minutes to 17 minutes race depending on the track length. Obviously with Spa being quite a long track, I think it actually went over into the it possibly could have ended up 7 laps, but I think because of the pace of the leaders it went through to 8 laps as we now go over the start finishing line and start lap 2. So quite a nice lap 1. We've managed to gain a position through no real skill. It's just an error on the start. We'll take a look at that racing incident at the end of this race and check out any other stuff that happens in this race, as that was quite a bad move by some drivers in that start. You know, on lap 1 straight off the rolling start, and to be squeezing someone onto the wall like that was quite silly driving. But you see we're actually starting to lose touch with the drivers in front of us at this stage. They're definitely gaining. I made a few errors, so I lost a bit of ground there, just over a second back now, but luckily for ourselves we seem to have enough of a lead over the car behind that he's not going to be able to make a move into the braking zone. You can see him picking up the slipstream, but he's not going to be able to go for that move. I stay to the left and just try and concentrate on my normal racing line to get through these corners as smooth as possible. And I really did enjoy driving this Ferrari at this track, even though it was with default setup. The car was drivable, it felt consistent to drive. Obviously you would like to be able to alter the setup to suit your own driving style, but it actually wasn't too bad for Spa. It seemed fairly balanced, and I really enjoy these races. You know everyone's on the same setup. The only advantage people are going to get maybe is with slightly better equipment and the brakes, V3 pedals and stuff like that. And it's not going to be a massive amount in these cars anyway, because these cars run ABS. It's not the GT car. These are the cars with the ABS, so there's no massive advantage through equipment either really. so it's quite an even playing field. This was a top split race. Obviously my iRating at this point was 4.1, I think it was 4.1k. Obviously we have lost quite a lot of iRating since we used to play it and be on it quite a lot, and obviously had quite good race pace when we were on it all the time. So it has dropped down considerably since then. I think we've lost nearly we're probably at this stage now, I think we've lost nearly 1,000 iRatings. We run a little bit wide out of that corner, possibly picking up another times one. But one good point with this race is because it's so short, only 8 laps, you have time 17 available, so you can afford to do more than 2 slight mistakes in terms of running slightly wide every lap. Although I didn't want to do that, I wanted to try and keep it in the limits as much as possible. However, at the end of the race we did check out, I think when we live streamed this, we did check out some of the other drivers' incidents, and it did seem that some of the other drivers were abusing the limits just a little bit, because they obviously knew that they could get away with it, and then they could just get their safety rating back up maybe in other races as we now start another lap and just try and hold on. We've actually gained a little bit on the cars in front on that lap. We did quite a solid lap there, kept it quite clean, and we're not losing a massive amount of time to the lead battle at this stage. So doing quite a good job, considering we're only fresh back on this game, and I really look forward to be able to keep improving on the game and trying to improve my speed and hopefully get back to some level close to where I used to be. Obviously GT Sport is my main game at the moment. It will be for probably most of the time, and probably always will be my main game with newer versions of the game coming out. But I want something a little bit more serious to add in with GT Sport, and I think iRacing is definitely the perfect game to do that. It's really enjoyable. It requires a lot of skill. It rewards skillful driving, and it's obviously got the matchmaking just like GT Sport with the driver rating, because GT Sport obviously copied iRacing's rating system with the driver rating and the safety rating. So as you can see there now, just up ahead of us, we've got quite a close battle between them 2 Ferraris right in front of me, and then there's a bit of a gap developed between P1 and 2. They seem to have built up maybe a second and a half lead out of the slipstream range, and I'm just outside the slipstream range from P4, but I've managed to increase my lead over P5 and P6, sorry. So it looks like I'm just outside the slipstream range, so I'm actually in a good position at the moment in this race. I was quite happy to be in P5. I didn't really expect to be making much gains. Actually, the race pace was slightly better than what I expected, because in general at the moment my qualifying tends to be a little bit higher up than what my race pace is, because I haven't got the consistency on the game. So we're holding reasonable pace at this point. Obviously one thing I would like with this race in the fixed series is maybe the races to be at least 5 minutes longer, just a little bit extra time, maybe a 20-minute to 25-minute race. 15 minutes is enjoyable, though it does create quite sprint-like races, so people tend to be a little bit more aggressive in some of the overtaking moves that they make compared to maybe the VRS series, etc., where the races are 40 minutes long, 45 minutes long, and people tend to be a little bit more cautious sometimes in the overtakes. You've seen straight away on lap 1 where we're going to show you the replay at the end of this race, where the driver's squeezing him into the wall. Some of their moves tend to be a little bit aggressive because the races are so short. People want to make up places, as we now getting put under a lot of pressure from that Ferrari behind us. He went for a move up the inside, kind of threw it up there, but we managed to brake really late ourselves and hold that car off. Now we're going to have to make sure we take the next group of corners very well as we go through, and trying to hook up the apex here. Really important to get close to that curb so you can maximise the speed at the top of the hill and working your way down into the fast flowing chicane up ahead now, as he's going to look like he's going to try and make a move. Is he going to go for the dive on the inside? We're going to stay to the left hand side. It looks like he's a little bit too far back. He's on the inside. We're going to try and brake late, but he manages to make that move, and we drop a place down to P6. It's a nice tidy move by the driver in front. There was no real point in trying to outbrake him around there. I felt like I could have possibly defended that, but he did seem to have really good race pace, so I decided it probably makes more sense for me to let him take that position, and I'll just stick behind him and maybe try and stay in his slipstream a bit and gain a little bit of time that way, because I felt if I tried to battle him, I felt that the group of cars that were behind, you could see there's 2 free cars right directly behind me. They would have got even closer and would have been putting me under even more pressure. So in a way it made more sense just to keep it clean, let him through, let him push on, and let me just pick up some of his slipstream as we go through with really fast following corners on Spa. And you can see the drivers in front started to pull away a bit. What I tend to find on this game is that in the race pace, I can do the fast laps, but in the race I tend to just drop off a little bit. I need to really start concentrating like I do in qualifying on every single lap in terms of hitting every single apex. Obviously when you're streaming as well, it is a little bit harder to do than when you're obviously not streaming. When you're not streaming, you tend to be able to concentrate that a little bit better. When you're streaming, obviously you're trying to check out the chat, and you do tend to lose the odd apex by a few feet here and there, but we can definitely improve, and I think we will do over the next few months. Hopefully, iRacing, like I say, is a game that you aim to improve on over months. It's not a game where you're just going to get instantly faster on, so hopefully we can just make our progress. Obviously, I think we've lost a lot of iRating recently. We're down under 4K now with recent races, but the aim will be to probably end up losing iRacing to start with, as we've not really got the speed, but then we'll get back hopefully and start building our iRating back up to the near 5K mark. As we look back in the distance there, very close behind us, the other Ferrari and the other green Ferrari had a little look up the inside into turn 1, not able to make that move, and very close to running wide on the limits there. We just about stayed in there, didn't pick up a times 1. I remember that incident from the live stream. I thought I was going to get it, but we were really pushing to make sure that this car behind wasn't able to make a move, so really aggressive through these corners now at the top of Radallion, and there's a car there, a massive incident. It looks like he's lost it at the top of the hill. Very easy to do on iRacing. The car goes very loose, becomes unbalanced, and he's lost that there, crashed into the wall, and now we're upper position. So we're back into P5 in this race, and it looks like that possibly there was an incident between that car and the car that's in front of us, because the car in front of us seems to have dropped off a little bit there. Maybe there was some sort of incident going through the corners. Maybe I'm not sure if they were side by side, but we'll maybe check that out on the replay at the end of the race to see if we can pick up exactly what happened in that incident. But as you can see from these races, there is definitely the action still in the race. You know, when we compare these type of races to GT Sport, on these short races in GT Sport obviously increased the tyre wear, the fuel rate, and to try and create action. But I don't think you need to do that. This is an example of a lot of incidents in the race. There's close racing going on, and this is without the multipliers. This is just normal multipliers on iRacing. They don't increase the tyre wear, they do not increase the fuel rate. This is all just set standard, so there's no pit stop in this race. Obviously, it's a short sprint race, and I think it shows that GT Sport could do a similar thing without having to worry about action, because the action would come with the top drivers anyway, especially for the live events. I think they can increase the race distances slightly and follow a similar structure to what iRacing does, and I think the racing will still be very close and full of action. Obviously, I think they do it to try and create more drama with the heavy tyre wear that really does start affecting the way the car handles, but I do much prefer the tyre wear being on the ×1 ratio, so you can understand where the car's going to be lap by lap. It's a slow progression, you slowly feel the difference, so you can it's a lot easier to judge every lap by lap, rather than when you have tyre wear it's like between ×15 and ×30, for example, on GT Sport, where it can be so much different from one lap to the next lap that your braking distances are altered every single time, and that can actually create incidents in itself, because if people are not 100% sure on the braking distance, it can cause incidents into corners, whereas on iRacing it's pretty much always going to be the same. You know the grip levels are very minimal, the changes in them. These tyres can last a lot of laps, and so everything remains fairly steady. On some of the long races, the car does start becoming a little bit loose as it starts building up heat in the tyres, but it's nothing like what happens on GT Sport, for example. If we see the cars behind, I've managed to put myself in quite a safe position here. As the cars behind are battling away there, I'm going to stay to the left there. There's no chance of them making a move up the inside, as the car behind was going defensive against that blue Ferrari. Looks like they're battling away, which will help me out in terms of maybe giving myself a little second to a second half advantage to make sure that I can try and hold on to this P5 in this race. You can see the car up ahead again, managed to pull away from myself. Obviously, it looks like there must have been some sort of incident between him and that other Ferrari that lost it at the top of the hill and went straight into the wall, because he's now pulling away from myself again. So we'll have to check that out at the end of this video, at the end of this race, and see what actually happened there as we now go through the long left-hand corner. A corner I really do enjoy. I love Spa. It's one of my favourite tracks, and one of the tracks that I do wish will be coming to GT Sport. So we know that it's complete on GT Sport. We know that it's been finished. We know that the track has been done, it's in the game. However, they cannot get the licensing for it at the moment due to an increase in the price that the Spa owners have put on the licensing of that track. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. It must be interesting as well, because I'm not sure how they go about getting these licensing deals, but I'm sure that if they put the work into creating it in the game like they've said they have. It's in there. I'm sure they're going to pay for the funds, because they won't waste that amount of money that they've already done on the game, and the time and the effort. So hopefully we'll be getting Spa very soon on GT Sport in an upcoming update, as we now go through to the final corner and trying to hook this chicane up. This is a chicane that I really do struggle on iRacing. I've had it so many times. I remember when I used to be on the game, I did tend to lose a little bit of time on the chicane. I think it's maybe hesitation when getting on the power and trying to be a little bit too smooth and just cautious of running wide. Maybe I need to be a bit more aggressive there to stop losing. I was losing about 2-3 times every lap on that corner, so that's an area where I will have to try and improve on Spa and see if I can get my speed sorted, because that then obviously gives you a boost into turn 1 and avoids them pushing up your slipstream all the way up this really flat out zone. There's pretty much no lifting all the way to the next corner now. So if they gain 2-3 tenths on you, they pick up your slipstream, and then they get a little bit of advantage all the way down the straight into the really fast flowing chicane up ahead now. And then they can make a move into this corner, which is a place that a lot of people tend to try and make a move on iRacing. It's probably, I'd say it's just one of 2 places where you tend to get overtaking moves done on Spa. The next is into the final chicane, obviously, with the next slipstream zone, as we're now trying to keep it smooth. We're actually driving really well at this stage of the race, and keeping it fairly clean. You can see the drivers behind. They are probably a little bit faster than myself. However, they're not really putting the cars into positions to make any sort of moves. We're managing to hold them at bay and keep the car nice and clean now, as we go through to the long, fast left-hand corner now, to try and make sure we can hold these off now. It's really important to keep the speed as we go through this corner, so that they don't get very close to your right hand side, because this is another area on iRacing where sometimes they go for a move. It's not the most obvious place to make a move, but there are people that will go for a move into this right hand corner here. Now, I've seen it happen in the past. I think Lando Norris tried it on someone actually when we were in a race a long time ago through them corners, or it was another car that tried it on him. I can't exactly remember. As we go into the right hand corner now, trying to get on the power nice and early, and this corner again, trying to have the confidence to stay on the power all the way through there. It is one of them corners that you think you're going to run wide, and with the track limits at Spa, very, very strict. They are super strict at Spa. You know, you don't want to be picking up the times one, especially when you're trying to improve your safety rate. And we want to get back to A-rated. We did lose some of the incidents that have been going on since we've come back to iRacing. We go through the final corner and then into the braking for the final time now. However, this is the last lap, and the car behind just totally dives in from so far, but a really silly move. This was the final corner of the final lap, and we were about to pick up a very solid P5. We lost a position there. Luckily, we only lost 1 position, but still I was a bit frustrated because the race had gone so well, and it was a really silly move made by the driver behind. He did apologise, and he did wait for us, so he did the correct thing in terms of apologising and waiting, but it was a very silly move, as we'll take a look now and show you, and then we'll have a little look at the other instance in the race as well. As we go through into the final corner, you can see now he's so far back, I think he just misses his braking. I tried to give him space because I saw him coming, but then he just torpedoes us straight into the side of the car. A little bit aggressive and a little bit naughty, but again, he did apologise, so that's all that matters. Then we move on to this instance that actually you may recognise that livery as he pushes him into the wall slightly. This is just absolute chaos that it causes on the start. A lot of cars involved and cars that got hit. This was the same driver that did the move at Interlagos at the start of the first race on last night on the stream we did just gone, causing absolute chaos as well. So the same driver involved with that. Now this was the instant going up through Aruzinen into Radallion, and see, just lost it on the curb, and it was just one of them. It was not much you could do, but this was extremely dangerous, which I saw after. He then just 360'd it right at the top of the hill, right onto the racing line, and just watch as 2 cars just about avoid him. 3 cars, sorry. That was a really dangerous manoeuvre at the top of the hill. I think he should have drove a little bit further on, and where the track was wider before doing that. That was extremely risky and could have caused and probably wiped out a number of drivers there. But luckily for ourselves, we went through that as it was happening, but we got away with that. We ended up in P6, so not a bad result. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to be uploading more iRacing and GT Sport videos obviously in the future, and streaming both as we go on through the weeks. Anyway, make sure you give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit that notification button so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll see you all again very soon for more videos and streams. Bye everyone.